All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first Q&A for this semester in the unit PG428, Foreign Policy in PNG. Once again, we are joined by our sessional lecturer, Mr. Lawi Ako, all the way from Port Moresby. And we'll continue on with our program. We will take comments and questions from our participants, and after that, we will go into our Q&A topic for discussion for this particular week, and that is on economic statecraft. But first thing, we will open the session with a question or comment from Stella Marie. Stella Marie, if you're online, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yagura. And thank you, Mr. Ako, for the presentation on Tuesday. I have 3 questions based on your presentation. So the first one is, what is the new foreign policy white paper that will be launched this year about? Second question is, what are some benefits of us as citizens of PNG once the new foreign policy white paper is launched? And my third question is, what were some negative impacts that the PNG government faced for not having the foreign policy white paper been launched in the past years? That's all.
Thank you, Stella Marie. We'll hand it over to Mr. Ako.
Thank you, Stella Marie. Okay, question one, we don't know what the foreign policy white paper will be called. There's a draft out, but I think the decision will be made by defect, DFA and cabinet, I think. But Mr. Year, with the draft in your portion, is there a title to it? Is there a title to the current foreign policy draft? Or not yet?
Yes, it does. It does have a title.
Okay. I haven't actually seen the draft yet, but I think that title will answer Stella Marie's first question. Now on question number one, number two, you mentioned the benefits of a foreign policy white paper, the current one, right? If I listed it correctly, what are the benefits?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So the benefits is that I think one of the major benefit of having a foreign policy white paper is that the other development partners and our other bilateral partners will know in what direction we are going. So that sort of spells out what type of aid or development cooperation assistance they will give us based on our plan. So it ties that down very, very well. Now, on the negative aspects of not having a foreign policy white paper in the past right up to now, let's just say that we did have a white paper, but it was outdated. And a lot has changed since 1982. We had a couple of wars, 3 or 4 pandemics. Climate change issues came up, and while all those things were happening, we still had a white paper on active and selective engagement. So that's the first negative aspect of having not having a review of a plan. And the most important one I can think of that comes up, the most negative aspect of it is because we have not reviewed our direction. We have not reviewed the pathway which we will be walking. All our participation in international engagements and also our signing of development cooperation agreements and all that, maybe I could say that they are done ad hoc, in an ad hoc manner, since there's no game plan to guide our engagements. But you see, every time we engage, there is a plan. The reason why you and I are talking now is because we have a plan, and that plan is a PG428. PG428. That's our plan. It's because of PG428 that we are here talking. Now imagine if there was no PG428, and Mr. Aguirre just said that there's going to be a talk on foreign policy concept. Would you spend your nice Friday afternoon listening to me talk on, or no, God? No, God. All of us are here because of a plan. I signed up to talk about my experiences. You signed up to attend this in order to get your graduation points up to graduate. So there must always be a plan when we do things. So the fact that we did not have a foreign policy white paper all the way up to now, we can see that there was imbalance in terms of development cooperation assistance, in terms of bilateral assistance or bilateral relations, because there was no review on the white paper. So something started to light blow all bureaucrats, and especially the ministers. If the ministers, like I mentioned on Tuesday, if the minister wanted to go this way, then by go. The minister wanted to go the other way, all by go, because there's no plan. So they're using their mandated authority as the minister to drive Papua New Guinea's agenda forward, national interest forward. And they're right in that sense, because there's no plan. Of course, there's the MTDP 3 to cover it, but MTDP 3 is more domestic oriented. So that's my take on your questions.
Once again, thank you, Stella Marie, and thank you, Mr. Ako. We move on to the next person. That's Philip. Philip has a question, I believe, question or comment.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and Mr. Ako. I have a question and a comment. So, going back to Mr. Ako's presentation on Tuesday, he used the PNG national rugby team and the playing World Cup as an example to capture the aspects and concepts and how a foreign policy is played out in the international stage. It was a very good example, given that it was clearly explained and understood. So given that PNG forming a national team for the World Cup is a practical example of this foreign policy in action. It's not just about sports, it's a non-traditional diplomatic tool. So in the long run, and this sporting attempt acts as a soft power, projecting PNG's identity, raising concern, and showcasing its capacity to engage globally. So thereby strengthening its overall standing and relationships with other countries. So moving on to my question, recently, PNG had a change in the constitution regarding its stance on religion, to changing it to PNG becoming a Christian nation, fully becoming a Christian nation. So my question regarding the foreign policy is, what potential diplomatic challenges could arise for Papua New Guinea in promoting its foreign policy objectives through the lens of its Christian national identity, especially when engaging with diverse states or international bodies that may not share a similar religious foundation? Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. That's a very, very interesting question, because right now we are a Christian. We are a professed Christian nation, and we share a same border with the world's largest Muslim country. And then below us is a Western economy. So based on that, and in addition to sharing same border with the world's largest Muslim country, due to our religious convictions, we are all aligned to Israel. So that now provides a very interesting equation on how we will drive our foreign policy forward. So now, depending on the outlay of the proposed foreign policy review and the foreign policy white paper that will be launched in a couple of months' time. In terms of our religious diplomacy, I am of the opinion that because Papua New Guinea has membership to the World Council of Churches, Papua New Guinea has membership to the the United Church have their membership to the international body. The Seventh-day Adventists have the same with the Catholic and Lutheran and Anglican. Those are some of the initiatives which can drive our foreign policy aspiration forward. For instance, the United Church was, I will use the United Church as an example. The United Church was formed through the London Missionary Society. So the London Missionary Society arrived here in 1874, and from 1874 right up to 1968, they converted into the United Church of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, and by 1968, they became a union of Methodists and Presbyterian and LMS, London Missionary Society, to form the United Church of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. And a decade or so down the line, the Solomon Islands will go on their own, and we will become the United Church of Papua New Guinea. The link with England is still there through that LMS connection. How well the country uses that, not only through our Commonwealth engagement, but how well can, how best, for want of a better word, how best can Papua New Guinea use its London missionary connections to drive its national agenda? How best can Papua New Guinea use its Seventh-day Adventist connection to drive its national agenda? If you're saying, you might think that no, Katem national agenda, it might not work because you're talking about the spiritual aspect of the church and all, but you will realize that most of these churches, apart from the United Church, have businesses. And those businesses, they do export import. They have cross-border trade. For instance, the Roman Catholics have a whole business network where their supply chains and rules of engagement connect. You look at the Seventh-day Adventists, although most of they really don't have business, but because of their church connectivity around the world, if one of their communities in Papua New Guinea want to set up build a hall, then they put out the appeal in their network. So those things come in. So they set up the hall. The Catholics have their businesses. All these engagements are covered under national policies and regulations, taxation laws, tariffs. So the moment the national conventions and regulations and laws come in, it becomes a foreign policy matter. Look in. So those churches, let's say the partner church in Australia will have to abide by Australian trade rules to send businesses and stuff up, and the other way around. So therein lies the idea. From my own point of view, I see the PNG as the richest, blackest Christian nation. That Christian aspect of it is driven through that pathway. I do not see the Christian aspect of it as 100% spiritual. No, but I'm spiritual na lo running the church. If some of you are United Church members, if some of the students now are part of the United Church, you will realize that the United Church has what they call the annual Thanksgiving around October, where it gets its congregation members to contribute, donate money so that the church can run in the next 12 months. The United Church doesn't have any business. It relies 100% on the benevolence of its congregation members. That in itself is under the current economic climate, it will come up hard now. Kano sa nipo lain lo Hano Baraya. Di Hano Bara Thanksgiving In the last 2 years, we contributed 1.2, 1.3 million kina as part of our contribution to the church. Now you take out that religious cap out and you put an economic cap and see where has that brought us? You know, have we Hanoverans have our houses develop into 2-3-story buildings? So no, middle stop also 1967, middle stop yet same. So then that brings you, puts you in another dilemma now. So you're talking about the richest, blackest Christian nation, but in a sort of, with the United Church, you are burdening the congregation member by putting money in. The time we talk, we need to do business or online lot, but no money is the root of all evil. So what do you want? So when you look at that, when the term the richest, blackest Christian nation, you break it down into the denominations. And then you break it down to denomination now, but you find out how do the Catholics run the issue. With the Catholics, they have a two-phase approach to their operation. One plus spiritual, one plus operational. So line operational, all running multiple, raising money so the third party can walk. Which is very clear. The other churches are different. So that's how I will, Philip, that's how I will answer your question with regards to that. You're talking about the richest, blackest nation, how the title of the foreign policy will look like, and then how the bureaucrats will interpret that, driving national interest blaming, both internally, domestically, and internationally.
Okay, thank you, Philip, and thank you, Mr. Ako. We'll move on to Kappa. Kappa is our next person on the list with a question or comment. Please, Kappa, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager and Mr. Ako for the presentation and for giving me the opportunity to ask a question and to pose a comment as well. Good afternoon, all my colleagues. First of all, my name is Kappa Goma. I'm from the Communication Arts Department. Regarding the foreign policy presentation provided by Mr. Ako, I noted one of the key factors that you highlighted, and there was the inclusive consultations. Now, in regards to the inclusive consultations that are done to collect collaborative ideas to drive the foreign policy, which is currently in the drafting process, my question is, where do we as media practitioners fall in the category of the key players that you've highlighted in your presentation? That is my question. Moving on to my comment, I'd like to share a comment based on, also one of the key highlights mentioned in the presentation, where a country lacks a proper foreign policy, it struggles to manage international relations and resolve conflicts peacefully. So dating back to 1971, when the Constitution Planning Committee was drafting the Constitution, the senior PNG Defense Force Major Teddy Ross saw that he saw the army as having a role to play in the international security matters. However, the CPC emphasized its beliefs in the general principle that the disciplined forces should be subjected to the control of the elected government and that the DF should be firmly oriented towards external defense. From my own understanding, given the current security issues that we're facing, and like one of the key highlights was the recent COVID-19 that we faced. So drawing from these perspectives, I do understand that when PNG goes into any type of internal security, security crisis or anything, for COVID-19 specifically, the PNG government made the police commissioner as the head of he was like the one giving directions during the time. So it wasn't the PNG government that was telling everyone to be complying to the protocols at the time. So that's how I understand this whole the reasons why the CPC prior to independence, when they were drafting the constitution, they didn't give more power to the military to to run the government in the event when we go into security issues. So yeah, that's just my understanding to that. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay. We start from the last the comment and the regarding the military's involvement in domestic issue. I think the Defense Act, which was put up in 1973, 1974, not recommended, but stated that the police would be in charge of all domestic issues. The military's involvement will only happen if the police requires more assistance, requires more additional assistance, and after their consideration, then they'll go to cabinet, and then cabinet/parliament, I think, will give out the order to get the military involved, and that's when the military comes in. So note that every domestic issues, it comes under a purview of the police, the security forces. Okay, so retired General Diro knew that. So you will realize that when you look at all photographs of them on 16th September 1975 or 15th September 1975, he has the Police Commissioner Pius Kerepia on his right, as befitting the protocol. So when he was asked why is that, he said because it's a domestic issue, it's a domestic engagement. So by right, although we are same in rank, that's he leads. So I will be answerable to him. That's the reason why Pius Kerepia will be on his right. That's how he mentioned that. So that's based on the domestic security configuration between the disciplinary forces. Now, in terms of question/comment number one on inclusive consultations to collect collaborative ideas, and the involvement of the media, that's a very, very good question, because communication is communication. All media stuff na well sabi what Papua New Guinea is doing. Mostly bad, mostly good, but it's because of media. And the fact that the consultations did not go as far as the media is a very good question, and something which the people we should be asking those who were part of the drafting of the foreign policy. No, you're talking about the media, but the academia were not consulted. They would have had a conversation with the academia for a short time, maybe an hour or so, but the academia were not consulted. After the draft was done, and I was very happy that Mr. Egura was talking about being sent a draft by the government to see it. But then he was, I don't think he was sent a draft by DFA. He was sent a draft through his security engagements. So you see, that's how they view. That's how the government views each other's sectors. Okay. So if they need comments, they'll ask you for comments. If they think that you don't have the need to know, then you will not have the need to know. But in terms of the foreign policy formulation, it is important that all members of the community must be engaged and consultations done. Why? Simply because the plan will involve all sectors of the community. So that once it's put into motion, then people can say that they own it. And plan will be working. We go back to Philip's commendations on using rugby league as an example. No, if you are not involved in the training, and they just drop you in, you run on as the captain, and you just came from somewhere, and they appoint you as the captain of running team. Goes, hey man, but you power, you might as well refuse him this role and no can go, because you will go in and you have not had a captain's run with your teammates. You don't know the game plan, and then you just run in, and you cannot imagine how that will be. consultations are very important. You go back to your own projects, your own foreign policy projects. Did you appoint someone to write it, or did you all get together, put comments in, and started drafting it together? Because firstly, you are a team, and secondly, you are all the stakeholders. It will cover you. So a national agenda, especially a national agenda like the foreign policy, like the trade policy or investment policy, affects the whole nation. So the whole nation must be consulted. And it's not, something less, because the nation is made up into sectors, and the sectors are made up into groups and associations. So, it's not hard. You choose one and then choose a couple of organizations, bring them together and talk. So, Kappa, that's how I will answer your question and comment.
Thank you, Mr. Akon. Thank you, Kappa. We'll move on to the next person. There is Kaylin. Kaylin has a question, I believe. Kaylin, and after Kaylin, we have Lamanai. So, Kaylin, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Ako and everyone. Okay, so after Mr. Ako's presentation on Tuesday, I did a research on the white paper foreign policy, and I stumbled across a news story that was published on the 19th of December 2024. That was last year. And I came across a few statements that was made by the foreign minister, Justin Tetsunko, and out of curiosity, like I stumbled across a statement that was made by him, like he said something about the years that he took for the white paper policy to be implemented. Like he mentioned something that like it took almost 40 years for the white paper policy to be implemented. Therefore, his main aim now is for the government to approve and implement the policy. Okay, so the question that I would like to ask is, what if the government does not approve the policy? What would happen if the government does not approve and implement the policy? That's all, thank you.
Well, that would be. I will say that it will be quite hard for the government to go down that way, because ever since they established the EPG, the EPG has been having constant consultations with the government through the minister's office, or sometimes with the chief secretary, or sometimes with the prime minister. So the government and the cabinet are all aware of the journey the EPG has taken all the way up to now. But in the unlikely scenario that the draft, which is now in circulation, goes back, and there's a lot of comments saying that there's more work to be done on this, there's more work to be done on that, then I think it is only proper for cabinet to say, okay, the foreign policy review will continue for another year or for 6 months. We will not launch it now at independent. We will launch it later, but because we need to sort out these things. Or your question is on the right pathway. Or let's say a huge. I don't want to use the example of a national disaster. So let's say there's a huge international incident that will happen in the Pacific between now and September. That can change the outlook of the policy. It can change the outlook of the policy. If I start talking about examples, I will implicate myself in terms of geopolitics. So I'll just use the word. So you can imagine what kind international incident can come up. low region blue, you mean, either in the Melanesia or in Pacific. Right now, everything is constant. That's the reason why we have the foreign policy. Now, if one or two or three international incidents happen, it will most definitely change. That plan number 1, number 2, number 3 might be changed now. You need to add in plan number 4, 5, lo counterim disla. Or you might need to take out plan number 1 and 2, not irrelevant now, something about in place. Add in plan new plan 1 and 2. So that's the reason those contingencies must be in place. And then it boils down to our bureaucracy. Is the bureaucracy ready to slide in and in terms of contingency to cover those incidents and make sure that the business of the government and business of the country is happening, is going on as normal, and services have been delivered to the people. Goods and services are still being delivered to the people, regardless of that. That you see, those are questions which you need to put in. So I think that should also, Ms. Legira, that should also bring us to the point in putting up that contingency into that review. I mean, you are in the right position to do that. Maybe with your context in government, tell them, is there a contingency in the event this thing happen? How we may move? Because the challenge is that the adaptability capability of our systems is very, very ordinary. Okay. Example, if there's a national disaster, all of us are in Mosby, most of the services and most of the institutions are in Mosby. If there's a national disaster 2 hours flight away from here, how fast can we mobilize people, resources, materials to go help him? That determines the the capability of any nation in terms of emergencies. So I'll stop there, Kaylin. Am I right, huh?
Thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Mr. Ako. We'll give time to Lamonai, and after Lamonai, we have Valerie, Audrey, and Robertina to conclude. So, Lamonai, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yagura. Good afternoon, Mr. Ako and everyone else. So I have 2 questions in regards to the foreign policy white paper. So my first question reads, how will ongoing public and stakeholder engagement be maintained beyond its launch? And my second question reads, has a detailed budget been allocated to support the implementation of this new foreign policy? Thank you.
Short, sharp, and sweet. Repeat the number 2 past them. Me, recording me 1, you hurry 3, okay, that's all. Number 2 question.
Okay, so my second question is, has a detailed budget been allocated to support the implementation of the new foreign policy?
Good one. So the first question is, how will ongoing collaboration with the government be maintained during its launch, after its launch? That's easy. You see, the foreign policy is supposed to encompass all government departments and agencies. So once it's launched, a capable department will be getting the foreign policy and seeing where it comes in. Okay, so a capable department will get the foreign policy and looking, okay, now let's say there are 7 pillars in this foreign policy white paper. We are from the health department, and I think pillars 3 and 5 are where all mentionable health initiatives and health actions. So from there now you have to put them into your corporate planning now. And then as soon as you start putting it into your corporate planning, that will answer your second question. That is where the funding will come in now. So in your annual budgeting, you talk about the new foreign policy white paper says that we are supposed to be moving this way. So we need additional budget to cover this, because this pillar number 2, number 5, and number 8 is where our health initiatives are supposed to be moved. And under those pillars might involve having bilateral engagement with countries to secure technical cooperation and technical assistance on health issues, knowing about supply chain of pharmaceutical products, also something. Those will all go in. Okay, so that answers your question. When you look at General Dero, back in 1973, 1974, when he went to Queenscliff in Victoria to do his major ranked majors qualification course, they were all told to write a thesis. So his thesis was on PNGDF after independence. So he had 3 pillars. Pillar number 1, improving its capability. Pillar number 2 is improving the capability improving that capability with bilateral relations with other development partner militaries as force multipliers to come back and cover the country's economic development activity. So he used those 3 agenda to run to put his plan in implementing the defense force 1975 onwards together. So you will realize that most of the infrastructure projects that were done from 1975 up to now were done by the Army. The roads, the airstrips, the hospitals. Army in consultation with Department of Works or provincial government, all working. He knew that the capability of the defense force was not based on a conventional. The defense force did not have the capability to fight a conventional warfare. So Tanim calmed down. So this is how we will do it, through guerrilla warfare. And in order to do that, we have to train. But in order to train the people, you need to train them with all capabilities which you may not get. So where do we find those capabilities? With other friendly defense forces. So that's where finally manpower, human resource development Army go through that to come back and have capable officers to do nation building activities. Because the defense force is the only fittest group of people in this country. So if they do not go about doing nation building activities around the country, who else can do it? It's our job. So you will realize that most of the roads, na housing, na school, na one in between 1975 and 1980, the engineers company blow the PGDF working. So those are plans. You see here the plan. I'm writing plan, na I'm holding start, na time wala po yung command, I'm writing plan, let's implement this. Okay, so I think that should answer your question. In answering number 1, we went on to number 2, and we answered your number 2 question to unfund it. Foreign affairs will not fund everything. Because the foreign policy is a government, whole of government activity. All the government departments must insert that policy into their annual work plans and then fund it, to implement it.
Okay, thank you, Lamuna, and thank you, Mr. Ato. We move on to the next person, Valerie.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Can you hear me? I think I have just a comment based on Mr. Ako's presentation on Monday. So from what I've understand, I've always thought that the foreign policy is like a document that's a structured document. So according to Mr. Ako's definition, he defined foreign policy as a country's game plan for international interactions using domestic resources. And then that got me thinking, like, where have I heard similar definition as his? So back in, if I remember correctly, 2023, I was fortunate enough to be a part of a press conference called by our foreign minister, Justin Chichenko. So he called a press conference to bring forth to the press the Imminent Persons Group, the EPG, to announce the establishment and what they were doing, the process and the drafting of our new foreign policy white paper. So during that press conference, the person heading the EPG, Sir Charles Lapangi, I remembered he defined foreign policy as a bridge between us and others we share ties with or have relations with or want a relationship with. So this was interesting to me, and it opened my perception of what foreign policy is and what it's all about. It's not just like a structured document, but like it's what decision makers decide what foreign policy is or what they choose to its implementation is used for. So that's just my comment on Mr. Akwa's presentation on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
You are right in saying that. Yeah, Mr. Grip, you and team, all of you are right in saying that the late Sir Charles definition, I think, encompasses what we're also talking about too. Bridge between us and the others. How well we manage that bridge and stuff that you made.
Okay, so Sir Charles says the bridge analogy and Mr. Akko has the rugby league team analogy. Rugby analogy, so-
Mr. If I can add, when you're talking about the bridge, look, I respect everyone, but when you're talking about the bridge analogy, I think about that storyboard mangia, or Billy Goats na when a monster look out in bridge na the Billy Goats had to come and pass through, something. It can be viewed like that, and I say it straight, and I'm also not a fan of the definition of PNG and our bilateral partner joined at the hip. Because once you say it, you're pointing in the direction that only Siamese twins are joined at the hip. Those are just my personal opinion.
All right, thank you, Valerie, and thank you, Mr. Akko. We'll move on to the third last. We have Audrey, after Audrey, then Novatina and Michaelin. Sorry, I missed Michaelin, so Michaelin will be the final person. So Audrey.
Thank you, Mr. Yagira. So, according to Mr. Ako's presentation from Tuesday, I just have a question to ask, and the question is, can you name some foreign policy engagement that PNG is part of? Because you gave an example about the US being part of a foreign policy engagement to address COVID-19. So I would like to know if there's any foreign policy engagement that PNG is part of. Thank you.
Yeah, I can name one that quickly comes to mind is Sir Julius Chen when he became foreign minister, I think in 1980 something, and the foreign policy intent had changed direction into Prime Minister Wing had look north, and then when Sir Julius Chen came on board again, he said look north but work the Pacific. And then through that look north but work the Pacific, I think we were sponsoring Solomon Island students to attend. We were providing scholarships to Solomon Island students to attend the UPNG and Unitech, I think, back in the mid 1980s to late. I think that's one example of a foreign policy undertaken. The others we will talk about as we go on. Again, said Julius is going back to the active but selective engagement. The Vanuatu Kumul Force 1 operation in Vanuatu preceded that. It came first before the white paper came came, but it was like when commentators look at it now, they said, well, the Kumul forces engagement in 102 was implementing that active but selective engagement. So those are two examples I can think about.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Mr. Ako. Our next person on the list, Nobatina, and then we'll conclude with Michaelin, and we'll go into Mr. Ako's presentation on economic statecraft as a foreign policy tool in PNG. Nobatina, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yagira. My question is directed to you both. From your opinion as a practitioner, Mr. Ako, and an academic personnel, Mr. Yagira, what would be the biggest challenge PNG will face in implementing its foreign policy? Thank you.
I'll let Mr.
Okay. Maybe I'll go first, although this will go to the academia versus practitioner session that can be easily answered over there. The biggest challenge I see now from a practitioner point of view is the capability to implement it. See, in a normal sense, from September, the new foreign policy white paper will be released and launched. So it will complement the MTDP4. Okay. So in that, according to my definition, it will be that white paper will become every international engagement. Anybody who goes and attend the international engagement, he will carry two documents: that white paper and MTDP4. So time goes in a conference now, and once he sits in the engagement, either at the bilateral engagement or at a multilateral conference, and he or she will look at the agenda, and then from the agenda, and by flip go inside, looking where in the foreign policy white paper is that agenda comes under which pillar, and then go back and look corporate plan or web plan or department plan. Okay, where does this come under? And then that's where you set up your interest in the talk now. The white plan, the foreign policy white paper is coming at the right time now, because we have the MTDP4 and it's already there. So let's say that right now we are all in a APEC conference, and the agenda comes up on regional economic integration. The agenda is on regional economic integration, and all the economists are giving their thoughts. So we are going to go back, and we know very well that regional economic integration is international. So we go look at the foreign policy white paper and see what under what pillar does REI come under. Then you may go on national trade policy, looking where does this thing come under, and then from there we look at the prime ministerial statements, foreign ministerial statements, and what they were talking about. We look at the current projects that are happening, and from there we craft our PNG intervention points, and you may throw me goals. Nothing should be no intervention should be outside those papers, outside those policies. Everything must be inside. That would be from a practitioner point of view. Mr. Gira, from an academia point of view, and by planted 2 years. So me alone, you answer.
I think you've answered the question already. The view is the same. The biggest challenge will be implementation. And your students are aware of how we implement policies. It's a national issue. You look at us domestically or institutionally, Divine University, how many staff members implement the academic grievance policy? How many staff members implement the special consideration policy? If you go to the policy library on the DWU intranet, you'll see there's quite a lot of policies there: human resource, academic policies, the integrity policy. There's a lot of policies, but the biggest issue that we face at the institutional level is implementation. So likewise, DFA, they will. I'm sure they have the same experience. It's made up of Papua New Guineans like you and I, and Papua New Guineans, we're not really good at implementing policies. That is just my perspective or my observation. So it will be a really big challenge for them. And then this policy, like Mr. Ako has mentioned, it's a whole of government. And for the last, I don't know, 30 to 40 years, DFA has been working in silo. It's not connected to other government departments. We had a symposium and we invited them to come and present their point of view, and no one from the Department of Foreign Affairs stand up. A few years ago, Mr. Ako and I were there in the symposium. And the culture is all departments, agencies working in silos. So it will be a really tough task for them to get all these other government departments, quarantine, customs, the National Security Agency, NIO, Defense, the Department of Defense, all these other government, NFA, National Fisheries Association, because National Fisheries Agency, because they play a really key role in protecting our marine and fish. And so it will be a tough task to get all these agencies on board to implement the white paper. So for me, in connection to what Mr. Ako said, implementation will be a really difficult task. So if you go back to what Dr. Mitna wrote in his PhD thesis, you'll see he described he used the framework by Gingell and Wesley about the disconnect between the strategic level and the operational level. So you have the politicians, the foreign minister, the prime minister up there, and then you have the secretary and all the foreign service officers down there. So now it will be a big task for them to get those at the operational level to fully implement the policy, to run with the policy, to integrate it into the corporate plan and corporate plan, operational plan for the year, and then tie it to the budget, yearly budget for every year, and then tick the boxes, the KPIs, the key performance indicators, in order to meet the pillars, to meet the KPIs of the pillars. So that will be a really big task for the department itself. And all of you took the security unit last semester, and you are aware of how we implemented the national security policy. And it has not been implemented successfully over the last 10 years, from 2013 to 2023, and now we have the new one. And it will be a challenge for them to also align the foreign policy white paper with the new national security policy 2024 to 2029 and the 2025 defense white paper and all this. It will be a really big challenge for them to align all the policies and then implement and work out of the silos, come out of the bubble and then connect with the other government agencies. So that will be a big challenge to implementation, just from my observation.
In addition to what Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Egor. Oh, okay. In addition to what Mr. Egor just mentioned, when the challenge of aligning all the organizations under one roof. Look at this document. Sorry, it's not showing up very well, but it's called Team of Teams. I'll write it down on the Team of Teams by General Retired Stanley Mark Crystal. Google him and find out how he brought in how he brought in all the U.S. security agencies under one roof. And you can find out all the challenges he went through, how to bring them in, and strategic management is how I will say it, it is not something you just pick up just now and do it. It is something born out of experience, and you need to read a lot. Read all types of documents And then you see, if you are reading 3 books right now at the same time, and you can outline, if I stand here and ask you, okay, tell out of those 3 books, tell me what is book 1, book 2, and book 3. If you can explain those out very, very well, then you aligned 3 things into one. You look him. We have the challenge. Unfortunately, Papua New Guineans, most Papua New Guineans do not read. They like, I mean, traditional tubo na pasin you may like harim or line come story na that's it, without confirming. So that's good too, but it's also our downfall. And when it comes to this type of big issues now in how to align multiple policies into one, it becomes an issue. So I encourage all of you to read a lot and read 3, 4, 5 things at the same time, or try watching Netflix, playing solitaire on your phone, and reading a book also on the side at the same time. Try it just for half an hour and see how you go. I mean, the moment you master that, I mean, in terms of aligning more different types of policies, and by easy.
Yeah, so I mean, apart from that, the institutions and the difficulty of policy alignment, we talked about bureaucratic politics, politics among departments and then people's own personality and behavior. And implementing policy is not part of our habit. It's not natural to us. It's a challenge. So we have to make it become a habit, make it become normal and something that we do on a daily basis or repeatedly, and then we'll see tangible changes.
It
Let's
becomes
go
second
to
nature.
yes.
Second nature too.
Let's conclude with our last person, Michaelin Misuro.
Thank you, Mr. Yagira. Once again, good afternoon, Mr. Ako and everyone. So I have 2 questions for this afternoon. Moving on to the first one. Looking at the PNG's early diplomatic principle, I noticed that the shift from its universalist stance after independence. In order to understand how the transition shaped its foreign relations over time, my question is, how has PNG's foreign policy evolved from universalism to active and selective engagement? That's my first question. Second question is, given the updates to the foreign policy white paper and the role of recent governments, I'm just curious on how the different administrations have shaped PNG's foreign policy over time.
Okay, Michael, I'll answer the first one, but the second question you'll have to repeat again. I didn't catch you, but with regard to how the universalism policy evolved into the active and selective engagement after 5 years was simply because the government, Prime Minister Chen's government, had they thought, and I think they thought correctly, that you can plenty French Prince. Ever since we became an independent, these last 5 years, we've been going out to all the commodity boards in the UK. We've been going out to the multilateral organizations, becoming members, and we've been visiting tons of countries, setting up bilateral relations. So now we are a lot of friends now. Now let's work on a policy where we can see out of this lot of friends here, who will add value to our national interests. Usad ba no ka? And then we'll work that way. So that's your question, an answer to your question number 1 from my own point of view. Now, please, could you kindly repeat the question number 2 again?
My question 2 is, given the updates to the foreign policy white paper and the role of recent governments, I'm just curious on how the different administrations have shaped PNG's foreign policy over time.
That's a very interesting undertaking, which is also been thought about by people who have been thinking about foreign policy. And like what Mr. Aguirre mentioned earlier on, with regards to bureaucracies living within their own silos and the personalities of the people who head those bureaucracies. Now, with the foreign policy white paper that is coming out, that should work towards eliminating that silo, and everyone will need to work together now. Again, secretaries are appointed by cabinet. So as far as the departmental heads are concerned, everyone's equal. The reason why, now look at this difference. The reason why the late Manasupe was able to bring in all the secretaries under one roof back in 2014, 2013, 2014 was because of APEC 2018. There was a national issue and everybody had to come together to do it. Without a national issue, everyone's looking after his or her own home, own canoe, own ship. And unless there are joint undertakings, for instance, joint undertakings would be the single window, which covers more than 11, 12, 14 or 15 agencies. Those type of undertakings bring departments under one roof, based on their own expertise and their own qualifications to drive agendas forward. Now, the foreign policy white paper that will be launched should be viewed as it should be viewed as our answer to economic development going forward to achieve the 2050 aspiration. If every one of us can put the 2050 aspirations out there, and this, right now we will have 25 more years before we arrive at reaching 2050, and this FP white paper will help drive us there together with the MTDP4, MTDP5, all that going forward. That should provide a direction, a pathway for everyone to follow. Because if you don't follow the plan, okay, so then how by department do you run without a plan? If you think that you think that you can run it better your own way, how is that going to align with the other departments who all being practice law government, instructions law government, and they are moving it forward? One of the reasons why the implementation of the APEC 2018 roadmap, the leaders' outcomes roadmap, was that Mr. Aguirre said it correctly. Email Papua New Guinea, you mean sa lulugot tumas to policy. That was what happened. Everyone thought that as soon as APEC 2018 finish. Everyone looked at APEC 2018 like a logistics exercise. They didn't realize it was a policy exercise. And those, so now in 2025, you look back to 2018, go through all the departments. Yeah, this is a good example. Go through all the departments and find out which departments implemented the outcomes. Today, those departments are way ahead because they implemented those outcomes. They aligned those leaders' outcomes together with their domestic aspirations, and these were the aspirations they used when they went out into the region talking about this and that. You look at Secretary Matainaho's advancements in terms of our digital experiences. You look at Managing Director IPA Hoots, Clarence Hoots regulation engagements and all that. You look at former Secretary of Transport Mumu, and these were the people who took on that outcome and talk, okay, in the absence of a foreign policy, we will use this to drive our agenda forward. Smart pagas, they were smart. The others will talk, okay, logistics and Yumi host finish now, mi go back lo day-to-day engagement. And those others, you will see them right now, all racist stuff. And which is the reason why I hope that this new foreign policy white paper that comes on will give us that inspiration and that drive again, that, okay, now the final 25 years, how are we going to get there? As a Papua New Guinea, we must put a mark, we must put a mark so that time we go finish, not a man become take over, a billion goes, and by the time we go up to 2025, 2050, 25 years down the line, and God willing, we are all still there. We cannot look back to 2018 and 2020, 2021, the inception of the, you look at this. A clear example is this. Divine Word Institutes, PNG Studies, and Foreign Policy. And then 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, it is going to institute a master's in international relations, together with training certifications on foreign policy formulation and all that. I mean, you look at the difference, and that's because we are on the right pathway. We know that we must compete in the international arena, not government land as well, in terms of the academia and the society. We must compete. We must have our own teachers teach us the PNG way of doing things. No, but I was telling someone that did you know that the whole map of Papua New Guinea, most of the map and topography of Papua New Guinea was corrected and amended by PNGDF soldiers? O no sabe. See, those are the history that must be taught in our schools. And the geopolitical history must take second one issue. All of us know about Tiananmen Square, but we don't know. No one knew that the PNGDF were responsible for mapping out the whole country between 1951 and 1975. All those type of things. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ako, and I also thank Stella Marie, Philip, Kappa, Kaylin, Lamona, Valerie, Audrey, Nobatina, and Michaeline for your questions and comments. So we will now move on to the second half of our program, and that is our Q&A discussion on economic statecraft as a foreign policy tool in PNG. So I'll now hand over the virtual microphone to Mr. Ako to lead us with the conversation, and we'll give him time to share what he has, and then after his presentation, we'll open the floor for questions and comments from the audience. So thank you, Mr. Ako. Go ahead.
Can I just disappear for 30 seconds, please?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we give time to Mr. Ako to go have a break, have a glass of water, and then he'll come back. And we've been talking nonstop for the last 1 hour, so give him time to drink some water and freshen up, and he'll be back. So we'll give him time, he'll talk, and then after his presentation, we'll open the floor for questions and comments, and we'll stop at 4 o'clock. We started at 2 o'clock, so we'll end at 4 o'clock. But if you want to leave, feel free to leave. If you have any other engagements after 4, after 3:30, or if you have another class after 3:30, then feel free to leave. I'm recording the session now, so we'll upload it onto Mr. Ako's YouTube channel, and then people can have access to the content later. So with that being said, we also welcome our YouTube audience, those who will be watching this video via YouTube.
Okay, I'll share. Let me see. Share. Click. Advance. Getting it right every time. Okay. So, economic statecraft. Iplogoda can harimia. Okay, so most of the questions we answered during this round on Tuesday were all part of economic statecraft. The economic statecraft as a foreign policy tool in Papua New Guinea, and carrots and sticks. Carrots and sticks is a language used in economic statecraft to define economic statecraft. Okay. So what is economic statecraft? See, it's a state's use of economic policy instruments to achieve its foreign policy objectives. So carrots are positive policy measures like the trading of resources, flow of resources across economies, money, information, ideas. Sticks are a negative actions. So with sticks, in economic statecraft, sticks can also be described as economic coercion or coercive economic statecraft, where an imposing country or countries implement measures against targeted countries. See, there is no strict delineation between carrots and sticks, for example. Because sometimes what may start as a carrot can end up as a stick. So now with this definition, you can now look at all the trade embargoes and all that's now coming up in your minds. So these are the commonly employed carrots, official development assistance, which we enjoy right now through the support of the Australian government, the Japanese, the American, Singaporean, Chinese. So this would include development financing, example, loans and grants. You have concessional loans, students and workers, including the seasonal worker program. So now, once we see this, we know that that's economic statecraft as practiced by the Australian government in terms of labor mobility schemes and scholarships. Then you have trade subsidies, trade reductions, free trade policies, or free FTAs, or you look at foreign direct investment guarantees. Also, cooperative agreements, research cooperation agreement. So these are all examples of carrots. Now, when we come to commonly used sticks, they are listed out there. So, in addition to all these examples of sticks, there are also many cases where multiple countries are also the users or recipients of both economic carrots and sticks at the same time. It's not a one-way. Just one play the carrots, or it can be both. So a common example is of this is when countries join together to impose sanctions on a target country, either ad hoc or through a regional grouping. So a recent example would be the round of sanctions imposed by the European Union on Russia following its 2022 invasion of Ukraine. A further well-known example and most widespread use of sanctions since the end of World War II would be the decade-long sanctions imposed on Iraq by the UN Security Council following Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. So this would be the example of sticks in economic statecraft. So does it matter? No, you're probably saying, so what? What's economic statecraft? But economic statecraft drives foreign policy. So you look at it is now economic statecraft is now has been increasingly used in recent years due to the connectivity experienced by everyone, information technology, the reduction in active armed conflicts, and in general geopolitics. So the tools, as we mentioned earlier on, of economic statecraft would include development assistance, loans, work visas, investment, travel restrictions, tariffs. These are important foreign policy lever. Economic statecraft is used by the given country to impose carrots or sticks on the recipient. So this is why strengthening bilateral relations is crucial during carrot and stick situations. Bilateral relations will enable friends of a target country to step in and take the opportunity to take market share, market shares in a target country. For example, when Australia wine was subject to Chinese sanctions in 2020, the U.S. winemakers and others were quick to fill in the gap left by Australia, despite assurances to Australia by the U.S. government official. So immediately it became a business transaction where private companies are now making the most of these opportunities. This illustrates that states are not only actors when it comes to acts of economic statecraft. A key barrier to countering economic cohesion is the inability of the government to respond when private companies in allied countries increase trade flows to imposing countries. Now, this is because liberal democratic governments have little ability to impede the action of private exporters with their domestic laws. You know, especially democracies where they allow the market forces to work. The rules and regulations are based on that, and so long as the private sector abides by the laws of the land, go ahead and do your business. So the liberal democratic governments have little ability to impede actions of the private exporters with domestic laws, limiting the ability of state to intervene in commercial activities of businesses. So this is done reference. Sorry, the reference for this definition can be taken from McDonough. I'll just cut and paste on the get this reference. So McDonough says that because you're a democracy and hard law controlling private sector. So then you look at communist countries like China, for that matter, or countries that are run militarily. See, they have a different system of government, so they can impose they can impose their domestic laws on the private sector. So those are different aspects of economic statecraft. Now, that's the end of my slides. But with economic statecraft, we can now see the importance of the foreign policy white paper. The white paper will act as a guide to mitigating the carrots and sticks. So someone might say that, okay, so you give me plastics, that's all, then we go look for carrots from someone. And that's what everyone's doing now in the region. And the givers of the carrots and the sticks, they might pull up the geopolitics. Excuse me. So it's now converted into that way, and it becomes a security issue also when you look at how to manage economic statecraft on that. Mr. Aguirre, I'll stop there. I just wanted to provide that idea and to stimulate more questions for ourselves, because I feel that economic statecraft is an important agenda going forward now from this year onwards, which it's important that everyone should know what it does. So we must know about it. We must know about it. I think it's only known in academic areas, but I'm not sure whether this is known in government, that there is such a word as economic statecraft, and that it influences foreign policy making.
Thank you,
I'll
Mr.
stop
Ako.
there, and then, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. The floor is open for questions and comments from attendees. We will start off with Odelia. I think Odelia has a question. She said she has a question for you. So we'll start off with Odelia. And then others can.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Ako. So my question is going back to the first lesson that we had on Tuesday. Yes, so from your professional opinion, how do you think the new policy framework will address contemporary global challenges and opportunities that may not have been prominent in the 1982 white paper, specifically in terms of cybersecurity? Yeah, that's my question.
Back in 1982, cybersecurity was something which was only known in the Cold War between the Russians and the Americans. Cybersecurity for us comes together with information technology and the rise of the internet and all that. So when you look at the genesis of the arrival of technology, especially in Papua New Guinea, that's how we can look at it to understand that. I am sure the current foreign policy white paper has something on IT, international internet and cyber, because the security policy talks about cyber security as well. So that becomes part and parcel of our foreign policy. And then we look at our economic development stage as a developing economy, and the fact that most of the most developed economies are already onto artificial intelligence and all this stuff. And right now we're just learning AI. So that's how I would look at it. It's for us, it's good also, but it's work in progress. We've got best practices to look back upon these last 20 years and where we went wrong. But like what Mr. Gary said, it's the fact of putting those matters into policy and implementing them. I won't be surprised if some of the other departments are still saying that foreign policy, Department of Foreign Affairs, is all about providing funding. That's what most of the other departments will say. And that was the challenge we had when we were talking about APEC 2018 and the host, when we were saying that no, example, the Department of Transport, you will do this because under the APEC Transport Working Group, this is your agenda. So you look in where you fit in, you start budgeting accordingly, work to collaboratively with your APEC member economy to support PNG's national interest in terms of transportation. And like I said, former Secretary Roy Mumu, he understood the geopolitics very well because he read a lot. So you will realize that the Department of Transport is the only department in Papua New Guinea, in Papua New Guinea's history, in APEC, that ran a transport working group meeting, that hosted a transport working group meeting in Papua New Guinea, and a transport ministers meeting in Papua New Guinea, all as part of our. So I had my interest. I supported their hosting, but I wanted warm-ups. They supported the hosting because they wanted to put the transport ideas in place. And when Secretary Mumu brought in all these transport officials in, it strengthened the current transport TISMIC. I can't remember the meaning of those abbreviations, but TISMIC, I think it's like a steering group of departments covering transport sector. The transport sector is strengthened because of they're bringing in of bilateral APEC member economies, and from there they strengthened their bilateral arrangement with the government of Australia, who supported the ports. It was through the APEC agenda. You know, like we keep on using Secretary Mataino as a fine example. There are also other departments who went ahead, as against those who were just interested in their own department and how it moved. But right now, in the 21st century, going on to the 22nd century, no man is an island. You need to move forward together. You need to, regardless of your personal prejudice is you need to get the person on your left and right to move on together so that you can advance. So that's how I will answer that question and comment.
Thank you, Aurelia, and thank you, Mr. Ako. The floor is open for questions, comments on carrots and sticks, economic statecraft. And let me know if you have a question or comment, or you can just use the raise hand. Okay, Kappas, oh no. Okay, Kappas consultation, yes, please. It's going up to 3:30, and if you have other prior engagements, you can go.
A question here
Thank you, Jonathan.
on the presentation. So, with what you just mentioned today on the economic growth, like with US now, like it's a current topic, or what can I say? With this ban now on like us, like Papua New Guinea, we are one of the recipient of the US aid. So with the US now like freezing is like aid so to countries like us, Papua New Guinea and other countries, do you think like if US will like do give some aid like in next month or so, like do you think will it affect our policy that is coming up this September, the new white paper, Papua New Guinea's white paper? Do you think will US have any influence or not, yeah, on the new upcoming white paper this September? Thank you.
No worries, Jonathan. So the moment the US abolished the US aid, our carrots became sticks, just like I was mentioning in the presentation. From carrots, it became sticks. But US has influence in the security, our security agenda. We've signed a couple of agreements with them, so that will remain, and that will also those agreements in the last 2-3 years have been taken into consideration by the EPG, and I'm sure they have been included in the current white paper. So there won't be much. It won't change the direction of how the white paper will be moving.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Mr. Ako. Yes, Irene, please go ahead. We'll have Irene and then Jemima.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager and Mr. Ako. I have 3 questions to ask. So the first question is, in what ways does Papua New Guinea leverage trade, investment, and development partnerships to advance its foreign policy interests? My second question is, what role does Papua New Guinea play in regional economic initiatives like the APEC? And finally, my third question is, which economic instrument of economic statecraft, such as trade agreements or aid diplomacy, does Papua New Guinea use most actively? Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. I'll start from the third one and go back up. So which economic statecraft does PNG use most actively? I would, with the way things are, we go after the carrots. And for what it may look like, we do have a tendency of going after a couple of carrots at the same time. You know, and the examples are there. The Australian development agenda is the carrots which Australia is providing to us and it's part of the Australian foreign policy, but it has been negotiated between government to government before the development agenda was endorsed, and it's been run now between 2022 and 2030. Okay. Now your question number 2 on APEC. Sorry, I did not catch that properly. Could you ask it again, please?
My second question was, what role does Papua New Guinea play in regional economic initiatives like the APEC?
APEC is economic agenda. APEC is economic cooperation, which even right after we hosted APEC 2018, like I mentioned earlier on, it hadn't dawned on most of the departments that this is the way to go. Even 5 years after hosting, departments are still asking, what's the importance of our attendance at APEC? When you look at our economic statistics, you will realize that the top three, or not, five, top three, PNG's top three exporters would be from the APEC member economies. I think importers also are from the APEC member economies. APEC has 54% or 57% of the world's trade is in APEC, in the APEC region. Its programs are worldwide. Now, those are the statistics. When you look at the APEC BOGO goals, which were instituted in 1993, the BOGO goals of free trade and liberalization. Back in 1993, economies like Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, they were developing economies. Now, when the APEC leaders went and said, no, this is how we will plan the advancement of the APEC region's economic development, with leaving no one behind, but everybody will move together. They came up with what they call the individual action plans, IAPs. Now, in those IAPs, there are 17 chapters. You have the chapter on tariffs, chapter on non-trade measures, chapter on rules of origin, a chapter on customs compliance, on quarantine, all that. All those chapters were there, and economies during their meeting, during their consultations, all the 21 member economic consultants, they all agreed that we must do this back internally. Law advancing economy, blame it together. All those other economies went ahead and did this. For some reason, we never moved on that. So when you look at 93, 2003, 2013, 30 years down the line, look at where those economies are, where we are. We all started the race together. We all started the race together, but look at them now, where they are now, where we are. That was the importance of the APEC, and that was how PNG could have, answering your first question, that was how PNG could have leveraged trade to advance its foreign policy interests. Because all these other APEC member economies, apart from us, have free trade agreements among themselves. Every time they go for an APEC meeting, see, there are four APEC senior officials meeting in a year. Every time these officials gather there, if you walk past the corridor, you will see ASEAN caucus. You will see US plus ASEAN caucus meeting. No, people are meeting, and during those meetings, they're talking about how best they can advance their trade agenda. Because all these economies, they also face funding issues. So what they do is during those APEC meetings, those bilateral meetings on the side is where they do their actions, where actions are done to drive the economic agenda. Because during that time, all your free trade agreement partners are there. Yeah? You can't waste money by leaving the APEC meeting, going back, and the next month go for a bilateral. No, it won't happen. All the trade people go for APEC meetings. So when you go there, you sit down and start talking about how to advance your economic agenda. So that's the reason why I am convinced that APEC is Papua New Guinea's future. I know we need to keep our ties very, very strong in the Pacific. That's fine. But we drive the agenda, not an organization. You see, when this bigger economy is going to APEC meetings, all but these guys seem good through where you'll approach him, but they are driving the agenda. And if you know your stuff, you will see that you will sit down and watch. This is where they're driving it. They're offering us this carrot. No, others will go into to disrupt the process because because when they put up an APEC agenda, like I said, I'll go back to the regional economic integration REI agenda. The regional economic integration agenda affects all the FTI members. So before that meeting happens, 2 days ago, they've all started their bilateral meetings. All passing talk now. All passing talk. So tayo yung go sit down. Papua New Guinea, Paul staff, more agree lap, Indonesia Tromir lap, US agree lap, China agree lap. All that. It's because they had bilateral meetings because of the FTAs. And that's how they leverage trade to advance their interest. Now for us, because we are still developing, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say at this stage. No. Once we go into an APEC meeting, we go and talk about our mines. We go talk about our gas, our oil. But then the other economies will tell us, so what about them? That's the question which you and I must answer now. And with this new foreign policy plan coming on, we need to this lab bilum blue. You must put them up in now. We go out and start driving our agenda. I'll stop there before I keep on rambling on about this.
Thank you, Irene. Now we have Jemima, and after Jemima, Rafaela.
Thank you, Mr. Yegera and Mr. Ako. I have two questions. My first question is, are there any examples of successful economic statecraft in PNG? And my second question is, what economic instruments are currently used in PNG's foreign policy? Thank you.
I can say that the successful carrots which we are enjoying are through the Australian aid, through JICA. Those are the carrots we are enjoying. It's viewed differently from the donors' point of view. Okay. Now, please repeat your question number 2.
My question number 2 is, what economic instruments are currently used in PNG's foreign policy?
Economic instrument. Can I define that as our policies, our trade policies, or I hope I am not confusing that with economic infrastructure.
Economic instruments in terms of like monetary or fiscal policies.
Okay, yeah. So we have our MTDP 4, and then we have the Treasury's medium-term development strategy. Those are the instruments, economic instruments, which PNG is currently using to manage to manage international aid and also its development its development agenda with its development partners. I'll put it that way. But as in everything, there reviews must happen every 2-3 years because the world situation changes, price of goods and services increases or decreases. Okay, Jemima.
Thank you, Jemima. Thank you, Mr. Ako. We'll go to Rafaela, and after Rafaela, we have Valerie. Rafaela, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ako and Mr. Yagera. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so I have three questions, and they're not specifically related to this session here, but it was from the session. I didn't get to ask it at the beginning when everyone asked this, so I'm just gonna ask these questions now. My first question is that what are the main challenges facing the current first to all enemies to none concept? What is one main challenge that's facing it at the moment? That's my first question. Should I go with my second and third one, or after you respond to that?
Maybe I answer the first one first. The first challenge on friends to all,
Yes.
enemy to none. The main challenge is how that other bilateral partner views us. We might view that bilateral partner as a friend, but how does the bilateral partner view us? What's its attitude towards us? I mean, you're looking at friends since 1906. We're looking at being friends in 1906, and yet we have to apply for visa to enter a country, while the others have to come to the airport and get visas upon arrival. He said, so we are viewing them as friends, but how they view us is differently. So that is something which I think all of us, I'm not answering the question, I'm reminding you, that is something which we must all put at the back of our mind when we're implementing the new FP white paper.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. Moving on to my second question. In our previous discussion, you mentioned something along the lines of culture. So that question popped up, and I didn't get to ask that then. So I'm gonna ask this question now. So from your perspective, does culture as Papua New Guinea and as a Melanesian state, how does that affect our partnership with other countries when we're forming bilateral partnerships or multilateral partnerships with other nations? Does our culture affect that?
That's a very, very good and interesting question, because when you were mentioning it, I was thinking about how the Fijians run their international relations. If you study the Fijian story, my apologies if any of you in class, Mama Fijian or Papa Fijian or something like about blah, but they do it so smartly. All two also talkless blood. And that's the number one culture, also driving talkless blood. Now the art of high team cross blow, all master him go through. Because tourism and more. But then you turn the camera around and you see the flying Fijians monstering the other teams. And then you balance it. Okay, so attitude of sport also, but the diplomacy, they have a totally different demeanor. Because they are going back to the roots of their culture and all driving agenda blood. I know they might have one language, maybe Minosabe. For us, we with more than 800 languages and 1,000 tribes, and that, how do we bring ourselves together as one? One big good way of doing it would be through our main collaborative instrument, the foreign policy white paper that will be launched in September. That should bring everyone together before we start fanning out now, moving in driving our agenda. I'd say on culture, that's the difference I'm looking at.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. That was an interesting answer. Thank you. On to my last question is, how does PNG's foreign policy concept of friends to all, enemies to none, how does that concept reflect our identity as a Melanesian and a Pacific Island country.
When we speak in pidgin in meetings or in language, it is appreciated. But among ourselves, do we understand that? When we go into a meeting as a delegation, we must leave that highlands na sipik na motu na behind before we go as a team PNG. But I'm not really sure now how to balance that, how to reinstitute it. That whole mentality now lies with your generation, because due to all the security issues and the economic hardships people are facing, everyone is now looking at how to fill up their tummies. Now, in once we bring that togetherness and culture out into the international arena, it must also reflect what's happening at home, because do not forget that when you meet for a bilateral meeting with the other country, they would have done their research and due diligence on us. So when you're talking about your GDP ratio or rate is this percent, give real answers, real facts. Because what if you talk also about our GDP or GNP is X number, and they'll say, oh, but we saw your prime minister mentioned it's this amount. How are you going to answer that? That will only reflect on how badly we research our own stuff. You know, and look, like we went to Singapore for the IAP, the APEC Individual Election Plan reviews in 2009, and I was a liaison officer, runner. So one of the former ambassadors told one of my senior colleagues, okay, you guys go and research the HIV rate in Papua New Guinea. So took the money all gone, all go click low, Google, and the first answer that came up, they all Kisimson will come back. All come back now. When we were sitting down to do a briefing to just do the PowerPoint presentation with the boss, man, when the thing came on, the boss nearly fell off a chair. And so, my goodness, did both of you get the right data now? When the both of them look very close at the data, it was for a country in Africa with the same country name like ours. So those type of things, and both of them are right now. One is still a very, very senior director at PMNEC. The other left public service last year as a secretary. And every time we catch up, I said, secretary, you too, yeah, but him. Time long blue, you know, research good, yeah. But you see, those type of things, the mentality of doing stuff. Luckily, we had the presentations were the next day. We were briefing, so we had to do corrective measures. But that's not nice, because those things supposed to have done at home. Now we just went up and do that, and we did. People are correcting that now. They're getting together. It is not all gloom. Everybody's getting. There are departments. There are people within departments who have the mentality as us. They are calling their contacts in other departments. They're getting together for meetings. But we want the frequency to be more strong, and it must become inbuilt in our systems. That it becomes a standard SOP. One. Mipla battery mo meeting lo Fiji, good. One agenda, trade, good. Calling all trade agencies will come together. So Nakia, NTO, customs come together. What's the agenda? Put passing to the agenda, kiss him ministerial permission, approval, then go na talk. I'll stop there. Close to time.
Thank you, Rafael, and thank you, Mr. Ako. We have two last. We'll go to Valerie, and after Valerie, we'll go to Stella Marie, and we'll end the session for today. Valerie, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ako and Mr. Yagiora. So I just have two comments and two questions and a comment. I'll start with my comment. Economics, my comment is economic statecraft is an important tool for Papua New Guinea to use in its foreign policy. So PNG has many natural in building good relationships with other countries. PNG needs to be careful to avoid becoming too dependent on other countries or losing control over our own decision making. So if PNG plans its economic actions well, it can protect its interests, support development, and become stronger in the global community. My comment on Mr. Ako's presentation. And moving on to my two questions, then I'll go on to my last question. So my first question, leverage economic statecraft within the Pacific. Mr. Ako can answer that one first, and then I'll ask my last question.
Sorry, Valerie, could you repeat, please?
I think we're having issues with the network.
Maybe maybe you could write it on the
Yes.
maybe write it and I can answer it.
With the network.
My question.
Okay, go. Your voice is clear now. Go ahead.
Yeah, now it's
Oh, okay, sorry. Ask my question or?
Yeah, I ask it. Ask it. Your voice is clear.
So the question is, in what ways can Papua New Guinea leverage economic statecraft sustainable development within the Pacific?
Okay, got it. In what way can PNG leverage economic statecraft in the Pacific?
Yes. You can answer that one first, and I'll ask.
Sure. Yeah. In the Pacific, PNG can easily do that by doing what Australia and New Zealand is doing to us. So you see, so we are now recipients of carrots from our development partners. If we can replicate that with our Pacific Island neighbors, then in that way we can leverage our thoughts. And over the last couple of years in this program, me and Mr. Yegira have been talking about it. How can we influence how can we influence policy in the Pacific in such a way that we can drive PNG's agenda, national agenda throughout the Pacific? I mean, we look at how the Fijians, again with the Fijian example, look at how Prime Minister look at how the Prime Minister how the Prime Minister is driving the government is driving the policy. When they say no to something, they won't talk no God. They don't have to seek permission from everyone to say that I'm all right or no God. No, they just go. So that's one of the way I see it, and we were doing it very well under Prime Minister Chen's look north and work the Pacific. We were working the Pacific very well until new foreign minister came up and the intent changed. So that's how I will answer it. think we have network issues. We should, Mr. Aguirre, we should continue this on Tuesday.
Yes,
I think
thank you. That will
two
be
more
good.
questions. Yeah.
There's 2 more questions.
Larry can ask
I-
that again on Tuesday.
Yeah, we have a technical issue with the internet, so we'll continue on Tuesday. We'll move that question to Tuesday.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
You all have a good afternoon. Okay.
Bye.